Kyle Whittingham done at Utah? Deion Sanders in the Big 12 Championship. This Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Is Kyle Whittingham ready to hang it up and retire from Utah? And will Colorado play for the Big 12 Championship? Let's tackle those two things. Why, if you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Why would I give you Kyle Whittingham, his future at Utah first? I believe it's the bigger story of the two. While Colorado is certainly a massive story in the Big 12, I think that is a complete Saturday story for the end of the day. What has to play out, I will get there. What happened on Friday, I will get there. One of the most consequential Fridays in Big 12 history. But when we're talking Kyle Whittingham, decades of coaching at Utah, one of the best head coaches in the entire college football realm, active at the very least, is possibly hanging it up. And that is something that I'll go ahead and get to the forefront of this and say, I don't want to see. There are plenty of Utah fans that I've seen tweet out, all right, it's time. Kyle Whittingham, say goodbye. We'll see you later. Thank you. You're a statue coach. I personally, the Drake Toll, host of Locked On Big 12 speaking, want to see how Kyle Whittingham can help lead the Utah Utes into the Big 12 as he has led Utah through tragedy, as he has led Utah through a conference change, as he has led Utah into relevance in college football. I think he's still got it. Some people don't. This from Twitter user Matthew J says, Whit left the field really fast with his arm around his wife. Looked to be very choked up and emotional. Is this the end? Tanner Martin says, legitimately about to tear up knowing I'm likely watching the last 3 minutes of Kyle Whittingham's career. Joe Cole says Kyle Whittingham declines to comment on his future in the postgame, preferring not to make the night about himself, but instead the players. And then the Ute fanatic says, this is it, y'all, the last half of the Kyle Whittingham era as these final moments tick off the clock. Remember that you were witness to a legend in this state. Kyle could have left for BYU, but he stayed at Utah. Could have left for Michigan or USC, but stayed at Utah. Kyle Whittingham is Utah football. Look, Nick Saban to David Shaw. There are different stories for different coaches and the game passing them by or the game becoming too dynamic for them to keep up. We don't need football coaches anymore in college football. We need CEOs. We need business people, guys who can handle the transfer portal and NIL. And Kyle Whittingham is a football coach in the purest form and deserved a better season than what Utah got. And the win yesterday, I thought, showcased his postgame comments. It looked a bit like the 15-year-old family dog where you're like, oh, that's an old dog, but he seems at peace. That's kind of what his post-game press conference felt like. This old dog that seems at peace, knowing that whatever his future is, he holds it. He can come back if he wants. And if he does retire, I'm sure he'll be very happy in retirement, given that the landscape of college football is not what it was. It's not what he built Utah on. Now you have to be a businessman, and I wouldn't blame Kyle Whittingham for stepping away from that. But what I want to see is him continue to lead this program into the Big 12. And what you saw yesterday was another class performance from the Utah football team, from the Utah defense. I tweeted out and said the Italian Stallion would have made Utah 9-3 this season. Hyperbolic, sure. But it felt like Utah's ability to game manage is something that we haven't seen in the format of getting a win in a very long time. And finally, we did. And if that was the last game, it certainly was the last game for a lot of seniors. If it was the last game for Kyle Whittingham, at the very least, he went out on a win. He went out on a high note. And that's awesome. I hope he's back. But that could have been it. You could have seen the final game of the Whittingham era. I just wish that for a truly statue coach, a guy who will be cemented, pun intended, on that campus in Salt Lake City, that guy gets a better swan song than this, a better swan song than 5-7, missing out on a bowl game because he has been, as many have tweeted, Utah football. It would be tough to ask a guy like that back because he's an old ball coach and because college football is so different now and so political. Always been political, but now with money involved, it is absolutely chaotic. And a guy like that, segue, is going to be put behind guys like Deion Sanders, Who is that businessman? Who is that mogul? Who's a guy who can sit down and have a conversation with a big donor, who can sit down and have a conversation with an entire fan base and win them over? And not just a fan base, but elite level athletes and elite level coaches, bring them on his staff and win football games. I told you in the midweek, I thought Colorado would win 34-17. Over the course of the week, I was like, well, this stud young quarterback for Oklahoma State's coming out. They're probably going to give a better showing than that. They didn't. I was incorrect. My little gut that was like, hey, wait a second. What if this becomes, a bit of a ball game? Was completely wrong. I called Utah beating UCF, but I had Colorado, Oklahoma State a bit closer than this, a blowout, shutout victory. And a Heisman Trophy winner. These Twitter accounts that are making fun of, people are saying that Travis Hunter should get the Heisman because he's had a better strength of schedule, but Boise State's playing good opponents too. No, that's idiotic. They're playing Nevada and Wyoming and Oregon State. Teams that got left out of the Pac-12 compared to other schools like a Utah or Arizona that came to the Big 12. They got to come to the Big 12 because they were so good. Boise State's playing the leftovers. And I want to know, Austin Genty or Adam Genty, he's a good kid. He's a great running back, but I would shoot you straight. If you told me right now, you've got to tell me what his first name is. Here it is. Ashton. And you say, well, that's hyperbolic. You didn't actually not know his first name. I only watch Big 12 football. I'm a fiend for that. And I can look at the box score. I can watch the highlights of the Genty kid. He's not playing defense. He's not playing against some of the elite level talent, the consistent four-star athletes that Travis Hunter is going against. And the guy's tweeting out like, well, of course Travis Hunter got an interception. He was playing, against a freshman quarterback who threw it to triple coverage. What are you doing? What do you do? What are you guy tweeting that out? Are you getting an interception in a Division I football game, in a Power 4 football game? Do you have 4 interceptions this season? And also 1,000 receiving yards? Racking up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. I was wrong about Colorado. I was wrong about, I thought for the Buffs that there would be 1, 2 different options from Wester to Jimmy Horn Jr. above Travis Hunter. And then defensively, Travis Hunter was a very good member of the secondary, but wasn't going to be a complete world beater. And guess what? On both sides of the ball, teams aren't throwing it to him. I saw another person tweet out a video of him getting burned against Utah for a touchdown. That was the second touchdown he allowed all season. That was game 10? What? 2 touchdowns all year. Okay, yeah, he got burned on one play. Like every elite cornerback, I should enunciate, has never allowed a touchdown. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, Colorado has done everything in its power it could do this week alone to go to the Big 12 championship game, and that was win. With the win, they have positioned themselves with a couple of dominoes falling here or there. If you're a Colorado fan, you are rooting for Houston. If you're a Colorado fan, you're rooting for Arizona. If you're a Colorado fan, you're rooting for Kansas State. And if 2 of those 3 teams win, you are in the Big 12 championship. And sans 1 game at the end of the year, Colorado is hot. The only game you got to take out of that to make it completely true is the Kansas game last week. And we know what the Jayhawks have put together this year, or the back half of the season, I should say. As for BYU, Iowa State, they're not as hot as Colorado. Arizona State is. Those will be the 2 hottest teams that can meet in the Big 12 championship. BYU and Iowa State held out for Colorado and Arizona State. And we learned today if that's going to happen. That's the biggest things on my mind here. 1, Kyle Whittingham. Have we seen the last of him in college football? 2, Deion Sanders has done it. He's done everything he can for that 60 minutes for this week. There was no amount of points. Somebody tweeted this, and it might be true, that beating the Oklahoma State into submission might have killed any opportunity. They might have made them such a poor opponent that beating them that bad hurt your strength of schedule, which was how the BCS used to work. Like, that's just how dominant Colorado was this week. You took care of what you could have taken care of. And now it all comes down to this, the biggest Saturday in college football history from a Big 12 standpoint. 16 teams, 12 to play today. And we decide who goes to a conference championship in 1 week. Won't be Utah. Sorry, Utah. Will it be Colorado? Will I be giving a swan song, a goodbye to Kyle Whittingham on Monday? Will I be talking about Arizona State and Iowa State in the Big 12 Championship on Sunday? Will I be talking about BYU and Baylor or whatever random scenarios the Bears can still get in? I don't know. But I'm cherishing this moment as I sit here recording this as just a young, fruitful buck who will be in 24 hours a chiseled, seasoned veteran put through the ringer by a conference of chaos. This has been, it always will be. Thank you for making it your first listen every single day. Locked on. Dose Grande.